Hey friend, I am still integrating very much so the magic of this past weekend, the kind of magic that lingers in your bones, that shifts something deep inside of you forever, that reminds you exactly why you're here. The Goddess of Light retreat in Mount Hood Village, Oregon that I just hosted was everything I dreamed it would be. Holding space for these women, guiding them through breath work, giving them Reiki, showing them how to do the triactive breath, witnessing their release, their breakthroughs, their softening into themselves, their vulnerability, their strength. It was a life-giving in the purest way. This work, this sacred alchemy of breath and energy and presence is everything I am here to do, and I cannot wait to do more of it. More retreats of my own, more collaborations, more moments of stepping into spaces where people are ready to open and to heal and to expand. And this is what I love about being in conversation with other creatives and leaders and visionaries, people who in their own ways are also carving out spaces for transformation, which brings me to today's guest. There is something sacred about the winding path we take to becoming who we're meant to be.
This episode is something super special. I just dialogued today with Dana Shalit, and wow, her heart for impact, generosity, and conscious living is so deeply inspiring. From the moment we started talking, it felt like one of those conversations that opens you up, reminding you of how powerful it is to give, not just with our resources, but with our hearts, our presence, and our purpose. Dana has this beautiful way of bridging philanthropy and personal growth, showing that giving isn't just about writing a check. It's about aligning what we do with who we are. We talked about the moments that shaped her journey, the shift happening in the world of impact, and how expanding our capacity to feel good actually makes us better givers, better leaders, and more in tune with what really matters. I left this conversation feeling lit up, more connected, and deeply moved, and I know you will too, so let's dive in.
And the more full we feel, the more abundant we feel, and it's not about finances, it's actually about, just being present to the abundance that's already all around us. And then it just becomes natural to give, and therefore we live a whole life, because again, that generosity circuit is one of four for us.
What if I told you that the key to deep peace, healing, and clarity is already within you, just waiting to be unlocked? Welcome to Mountain Breathwork Infused with Reiki. This isn't just breathwork. This isn't just Reiki. It's a powerful, transformative experience. A journey into your own energy, your own breath, your own healing. Your first session right now is donation-based because I want you to feel it, to truly experience the shift. But here's where the magic happens. You'll release stress, stuck energy, and emotional weight that's been holding you back. You'll feel lighter, freer, and deeply connected to yourself, your intuition, and what really matters to you. You'll tap into clarity, creativity, and a profound sense of peace that carries into your daily life. And when you commit to the journey, a 10-session package for $1,011 takes you deeper, unlocking lasting transformation, breakthroughs, and expansion. Available over Zoom, whether it's just you and a partner, so powerful, your family, so powerful, or just any small group that you're intimate with and you want to work with. You will be guided into a space of safety, release, and renewal. Hosting a retreat, I would love to bring this healing to your community. It's time. Give yourself a deep breath. Say yes to your expansion. Message me to book your first session today. Siri@sageandblushwellness.com. Check the show notes. Welcome to The Authentic Creative, expanding our capacity to feel good. I'm Siri Baruch Thornton, a lifelong healer, teacher, and creative. My journey began in a yoga ashram in Boston and led me through the healing communities of Vermont to over 25 years in the film and TV industry, Along the way, I've learned from spiritual masters, explored meditation, clairvoyance, and embraced my role as a mountain breathwork teacher, Reiki Master of Masters, and Akashic teacher. This podcast is all about inspiring you to expand your capacity to feel good through conversations, tools, and practices that support your inner growth and creativity. So, whether you're seeking healing, transformation, or simply a deeper connection with yourself, join me as we explore what it means to live authentically, creatively, and in alignment with your highest self. Let's dive in.
We are blessed with the incredible Dana Shalit, whose journey beautifully weaves together philanthropy, conscious living, and global impact. Dana's passion for making a difference started early, volunteering with her grandmother as a young girl and organizing her first charity event at just 16. Her deep commitment to philanthropy shaped her career, leading to over 2 decades of impact as the director of a Canadian charitable foundation, while also working across industries in fundraising, sales, and wellness consulting. In 2011, she joined Artbound, expanding her reach through fundraising and leading international impact retreats in Kenya, India, Nicaragua, Haiti, and Guatemala. When the pandemic reshaped the philanthropic landscape, Dana recognized a shift. People wanted to go beyond writing checks. They wanted their contributions to truly align with their values. This insight led her to create House of Impact, where she now serves as Chief Impact Officer, guiding individuals, businesses, and brands in integrating social responsibility into their core operations. As a conscious living and global impact consultant, facilitator, and speaker, Dana bridges the worlds of business and giving, helping people create meaningful change in alignment with their purpose. Today, we dive into Dana's journey, the evolution of philanthropy, and how we can all cultivate impact in a more conscious and fulfilling way. Dana, welcome to the show.
Wow. Thank you. What an intro. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you and your laughter and your wisdom and your heart of service, the way you show up in the world. I've known you for quite a bit, but we haven't had the opportunity to interact recently. And so this is a beautiful blessing to get to just have a heart to heart with you and catch up. And oh my goodness, I've seen some things here and there, but there's too much to actually dive into your whole life. So we're just gonna kind of see what we can get in here. But in an attempt to kind of get a broad brushstroke, I want to back up with, where were you born? What was your childhood like? Let's just do a little bit of that.
Cool. Yeah, I was born in Israel, actually, and I lived there until I was 9. And my parents moved my brothers and I to Canada, which is where I grew up from the age of 9 onwards.
Okay, wait. Israel to Canada. Tell me, how did this happen and why?
Well, my parents are both incredible entrepreneurs, and they started to see some limitations for entrepreneurship in such a small country. As we know, as there is today, it was always sort of politically up and down, and they just wanted a different life for my brothers and I. So it wasn't easy, but they made the move in their 40s with 3 young kids. My oldest brother was 14, then my middle brother was 12, and I was 8 turning 9. So it was big for everybody, for sure.
Wow. And any reason in particular that they chose Canada?
Yes, I had an aunt here, and well, I'm not there anymore, but I had an aunt in Canada, and my mom had studied at university. So there was just some connections there, and that's how they made the move.
That's so amazing.
I'm very
It's
grateful.
interesting to think about our soul's trajectories and what we consciously knew and didn't know, and what was always destined.
Absolutely.
It's just amazing. So you end up in Canada, which is such a fabulous country. And then now you're in Costa Rica?
Correct.
Okay.
I got stuck here during the pandemic with my dog and never turned back.
And it was the best decision you made.
Absolutely. Another one, exactly what you said, what's destined or not destined. Now looking back, there were so many signs that I would end up in Costa Rica, which is so random, but it was definitely meant to be. And so, yeah, when people ask me if I'm going to be here forever, I say that I'm going to be here forever for now because I didn't really know I was going to be here in the first place. So my hands are off the wheel, as I like to say, and we're going to see where it takes me.
I mean, Costa Rica seems like you said, people that know you are like, yep, that makes sense. And I echo that because the two times that I've spent time in Costa Rica, as I'm sure many people say, were absolutely magical.
True. It's a healing vortex and very energetically connected. And the Nicoya Peninsula is considered a blue zone, and you
Oh,
really
yeah.
feel it. You really feel the energy, around here of Mother Nature, this feminine energy that really anchors you in the present moment because it's very much an assault on your senses, right? You're seeing and you're tasting and you're feeling and you're hearing, and it's all very much anchoring you into the present moment.
Which is everything. I mean,
Hmm.
just what you just described, the senses, seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, being in that environment. Like people want to get in alignment, like just put yourself somewhere like that and the work is practically done.
It's true. I had a naturopath once tell me, that back in the day when I was just an entrepreneur, and she said, you're really good at doing, but you have no idea how to be. And I was like, yeah, you're right. You're hilarious. But really, like, how do I be? How do I do that? And she's the one who said to me, you need to anchor into your senses. So, that was many years ago. And now if I find myself too far in the future or in the past, I always bring myself to what am I feeling, smelling, tasting, touching, and it anchors me. So Costa Rica is a nice extension of that, I would say.
That feeling, touching, tasting, sensing, that is how I lead people into breath work,
Of course,
which
totally makes sense.
is, I mean, it sounds like being in Costa Rica is like, that is the breath work.
It is
It's the
because
breath
with
work.
with the beauty and the joy comes a ton of contrast, and it's not for the faint of heart. That feminine flow likes to bring your stuff up and test you in many different ways, and so not it's not necessarily easy, but it's worth it.
Okay, so I did not plan this question. Is this okay if I just flow with
Yeah,
this?
I think
Okay.
so.
So it's safe.
It is
So
absolutely.
so I know that you and I understand the world of hustle,
Hmm.
and you just mentioned a couple times about flow. Can
Hmm.
you talk to me about that
Hmm.
transition that we're all as entrepreneurs
Hmm.
learning, practicing how to come out of the hustle and into the flow?
Yeah, I think for me, my journey as an entrepreneur was about understanding first why it was that I was hustling as much as I was.
Okay, that's
I
good.
produced my first charity event when I was 16 years old. I came out of university and started my own event production company. And right off the bat, I was working 100-hour weeks and
Ooh,
until I crashed, essentially.
yeah.
Until I crashed. And so I had to find, and it wasn't my passion anymore. So hustle has always been a part of my entrepreneurial life again, but then I started to see this pattern of working, 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 crashing, 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 working,
Yep.
working, crashing, crashing. So
Yeah.
I don't necessarily believe in balance necessarily. What I believe in is more like this pendulum swinging. So, like, while for so many of us, our pendulum is stuck in that hustle and we don't know how to stop it.
Hmm.
And for some, it's just stuck in the flow and they actually don't know how to crank it up. My continuous goal is to move effortlessly between the two, to know when to hustle, to know when to flow. And in a nutshell, really start to alchemize my masculine and feminine energies, the doing of the masculine and the being of the feminine.
That's brilliant. I love how you said some people are stuck in the flow and don't know how to crank it up. That's so great. I love that because it's like, I see that, I witness that.
Hey, we're going to pause here for just a moment. What's the thing that's never getting better? The thing that keeps you up at night? The loop you can't seem to break free from? Bring it to our Akashic record reading session. This isn't just a reading, it's a sacred conversation with your soul, with your team, your masters, teachers, and loved ones and guides. A place where the deepest parts of you are seen, heard, and understood. What happens in a session? You receive the clarity you've been searching for. You get the validation for what you've been feeling but couldn't quite name. You experience an energy clearing, releasing lower vibrational and stuck emotions so you can move forward lighter, freer, and more aligned. What if the answers you've been seeking are already waiting for you? In this space, you can finally breathe, release, and receive the relief you've been craving. One session or a package are available over Zoom from anywhere in the world. It's time to lift the weight off your heart. Say yes to clarity. Say yes to relief. Message me to book your Akashic Record reading today. Link in the show notes. And we're back.
I see that, I witness that, and I look at this philosophy that we're in right now of just become, just be the becoming, just be, just flow, just feminine, like it's all coming to you. And obviously we have to take aligned action, and also we're all, whenever we create something that we're proud of, like being of service, creating events, like lifting up the consciousness, or in big ways the philanthropy work you do, like we have to find that way of cranking things up. So I'm really fascinated, Dana, by this. If you're starting to master this flow, how do you then like stay in the flow and like crank it up while you're in the flow?
Yeah, I think it all comes down to awareness. I think for so many people, we were so used to being in the hustle, or let's just call it the masculine doing energy. And it was so celebrated, so much more so. How many times we heard the people being referred to as lazy because they just weren't doing anything, right? I know I grew up with that,
Yep.
when people were just
Sure.
sitting around, they were just being lazy. And so I
Yeah.
just, yeah, so I would say that for so many, they've had to push the pendulum completely to the other side. They've had to go from doing to just being. I know I did. I spent many years just being. It was way more uncomfortable for me than my doing. And so now what I have, which I didn't have before, I would say was just an awareness of when I'm overdoing and when I'm really ready to start moving. So like from my kind of personality, I have to be longer than I think I need to. So
Got
do
it.
less works better for my type of fiery personality, where it's much more comfortable for me to be in action. So
Got
wherever
it.
on that scale, you just start to cultivate awareness of, what will actually energetically create balance within my system. That's
Yeah,
the
and like
question.
you said, it's just like that awareness of your kind of MO, your natural tendency
Mm-hmm.
to, if you're naturally fiery, if you naturally tend to want to just do. And sometimes we're doing because it's aligned, and sometimes we're doing because we're in fear, and and like recognizing when it's an aligned action and when it's an action coming out of fear, that if I sit still, I'll just fucking fall apart and cry,
Yeah.
and everything will be lost,
Mm-hmm.
and
or
yeah,
or that not enoughness or unworthiness. I would say that's where so much of my doing and proving came from, was to prove that I
yeah,
was enough. And it really took until, I say this in quotation marks, like I had it all, meaning I was making the money, I was living the life, to realize that actually that doesn't create true happiness.
yeah,
It's like it has
yeah.
nothing to do with the stuff out there. So no amount of doing was going to make me happy. And that's actually what brought me back into philanthropy. So having the doing for me be so purpose driven in such a big way, such a use of my skills, that it doesn't even have that same hustle feeling anymore, because it feels so aligned.
Yeah. Oh, so tell me more about your philanthropy and being back in service again. And also, I'm interested and curious about being in service with philanthropy in a space of obligation or guilt, as opposed to being in service of philanthropy from a space of I chose this particular avenue, this particular charity or foundation or organization because it is so aligned and I'm so lit up by it, and this is like what my purpose is in the world, right? Like,
Of course. No, my belief is that we can't give from an empty cup. We can only give from our overflow. And so I think the bigger overriding issue is, and what I see all the time, and why I really balance wellness and philanthropy, why it's still such a passion of mine to help the individual. Because again, I love quotes, so I apologize. I quote a lot, but the way to world peace is through inner peace,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
there's no giving without first giving to yourself. There's no peace without first going inwards, right? So they have to go hand in hand. And so
Hmm.
to go back to your question about philanthropy, I would say I'm a different person now. So back then I was giving in hustle mode. I hadn't cultivated any wealth of myself for myself. So it was always really difficult to give. I didn't know then that there's so many different ways to give. Like, it's not just about financial giving. For a long time, I just gave my time and my skills. And I think that's actually the number one, or, my network. I would amplify voices for a very long time, the organizations that need to be heard. But really, it does come back down to that inner game. So to really give, we have to feel full. And so how do we start again to be in that balance of first giving to ourselves and then feeling how good it is to give from that overflow? Because we have a brain circuit dedicated to generosity. So to live a whole life,
The
we
mirror
must.
neurons, right?
Right. One of the four brain pathways is as a generosity pathway. That's how we live full lives. But the problem is we're all running on empty. And so
Mm.
it never feels good to give because you're just like, oh, it's my leftover crumbs. That doesn't feel good. As opposed to I'm so full and I could just explode with generosity. That's a completely different feeling, right?
So how do we get there, Dana? How do we get to a place? And I know it's not consistent and it's not like always going to be there, but how do we continue to return back to a place where we feel like we're in overflow so that we can dedicate ourselves to giving? What did we do to be of service today? We can get to that energy.
Yeah. And I think that energy does happen quite naturally when you're in a state of overflow.
Yeah.
And so to me, there's three steps, and we're really talking about like the steps to living wholly, the steps to being happy, the steps to being, you know, present, and the three steps, in my opinion, are first to cultivate awareness to what is standing between you and those feelings. And
Mm.
a lot of them are just like deep rooted, subconscious decisions we made when we were really, really young. And
Mhm.
so going into that work, then once we have awareness into what's actually going on, we start to create disciplined habits. Those are on a
Yes.
daily, routine, morning routines, evening routines.
Hmm.
And then faith. Faith is the
Mm.
amplifier. You
Got
must
it.
trust. That's,
Yes.
there's no, the Course in Miracles says there's no problem that faith cannot fix.
That's so beautiful, Dana. Oh my God. Will you please talk to me about, so first we got it, we got to have the awareness. We got to be willing to have the awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And that takes courage. And then we start to look at habits.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so what are some of these habits that like are your like, oh, that's my favorite?
Well, I would say I used to be morning routine. Um, it was absolute, but then my evening routine really quickly took the lead there because how we go to sleep is how we wake up. And so it's
That's
all
good.
about, to me, about calming the nervous system. So again, so many of us are, in that alpha brainwave going 100 miles an hour all day. And then we get into bed and hope we just crash and go to sleep. And then we review all the things we didn't get done. And then we wake up stressed. And
Yep.
so it's almost like, what if we celebrated at the end of the day? My routine include like changing the lights, lighting candles, I meditation music, incense. I am like having a spa day in my room every night before bed, pretty
Uh,
much. But it really impacts how I wake up. And then I do something. I take a slow mornings. I'm a big fan of slow mornings.
and
I make
impacts how
sure.
you sleep. The fact that you
Oh,
can have sleep, I'm
yeah.
sure.
You're trying, most people are trying to go from 100 to zero. And, I think, this, I'm a clinical hypnotherapist. I'm fascinated by the way the mind works and how brain waves work and how our subconscious mind works. And that's the biggest thing, is that we're trying to move from the conscious to the subconscious with no slide, just like a jump, And so
Yeah.
how do you, again, start to move that pendulum a little more smoothly? That's the
Okay,
goal.
you just mentioned being a hypnotherapist. Can you please talk to us about that more?
Yes, I know I'm very multi-passionate. I have a lot of things, but to me, they all work together somehow.
Of
Which is
course.
again, is you take care of the person in order to take care of the collective, right?
Are you a
So
manifesting generator?
I am. How'd you know?
Me too. Me too.
Yeah,
Me too.
multi-passionate, right? That's the
Yeah.
goal. Yeah,
But it
absolutely.
all has a through line. Yeah.
Absolutely. I had a mentor tell me once that I had to really concentrate on one thing if I wanted it to work. And I tried that. It just didn't work for me.
No, no. It's like cutting off an arm. No,
Exactly. You know
can't do
me, you
that.
know me. So yes, hypnotherapy. I became certified in hypnotherapy because it was a modality that really supported me. I just had such huge breakthroughs by going into my subconscious mind. And so I got certified in it for fun. And then I just started practicing and my practice took on its sort of its own unique way, and I still do it. I still do it on the side of my full-time business because but very little. Just I have a very small client base, and but I do it because I love it and because I
You're
know the difference.
selective about your, so if
I
someone
have
wants
to
to
be.
come to you for that, then it's
Yeah,
like,
it's a bit of a longer wait, but that's okay.
yeah,
I love it because I can help people in ways that I don't, as breath work does, for example, like it's such a deep modality that goes right into the core. That's how I feel about hypnosis.
oh, I love
Yeah.
hypnosis. I love these things that tap into the unconscious because you were talking about like it starts with when I said like how do you get there? You're like it starts with being conscious. And
Yes.
we need to address the subconscious in order to even change anything, right?
Exactly. One of my favorite Carl Jung quotes is that until we make the unconscious conscious, it will run our life and we will call it fate.
Yes, that's so
And
powerful. I love that you can quote these things. That's
it's
so
weird. I
powerful.
can't do multiple choice questions. I've failed every multiple choice exam, but I have a weird photographic memory for quotes. So there we go. That's how our
That's
brains work.
amazing. Okay, I do have a few planned questions. So, what has
All
your
right.
journey taught you, Dana, about the connection between conscious living and making a meaningful impact in the world?
I think I touched upon it a little bit is that we have to take care of our own vessel first. We have to put on our own oxygen mask first. And the more full we feel, the more abundant we feel. And it's not about finances. It's actually about, just being present to the abundance that's already all around us. And then it just becomes natural to give. And therefore we live a whole life. Because again, that generosity circuit is one of four for us. So it's taught me to trust the journey and to keep making the main thing, which
Yeah.
is, you know, that it's me. I'm the main thing,
Yeah, you're the
you
main
know?
thing. I love
Yeah.
that. I
And
love
each of
it.
us are. Yeah.
Yeah. So, how do you guide individuals and businesses in aligning their giving and philanthropy with their deeper values and purpose?
That's we have a whole team that does that. It's very much what our business does. We do strategy, branding, marketing, and amplification for athletes and foundations and charities. And so our first, part of the strategy is just really getting clear on what our values are. And I'm a big advocate of not only organizations knowing and living and breathing their values, but us as individuals knowing and living our values, right? And so it doesn't matter if we're an entrepreneur. First, we start with our values and then we align everything else, including our processes. Everything must align with our values because, if you've heard that phrase, is if you never want to work another day in your life, right? What's that phrase? Is that you love what you do, you never work another day in your life?
Mm.
That's what happens when we're aligned with our values.
Okay. So,
Yeah,
question for you to follow up
yeah.
on that
Mhm.
is what if someone's like, well, I think my values are this because that's what I was taught. That was what my conditioning. That's what my family or society told me I should value. Therefore, I think I value this. What if someone is, or they thought they knew their values and then they're like sort of starting to crack open to like, are these my values?
Mm.
Is this in alignment? So that process of like, discovering what is my true core value actually that I wasn't taught that just intrinsically is there if I can
Totally.
dust it off.
Totally. I think many of us have really signed up for that fantasy that is, which is to me what society tells us we should be and what society tells us is good and right and all those things. So, in terms of values, I think it's also natural for values to constantly be changing as we grow and evolve. One of my favorite free resources is with, I don't know if you know Dr. DeMartini. He has an online values quiz. It's
Ooh.
free. It's one I love to recommend to individuals to do, and you can do it, as many
Okay,
times
so
as
we'll put that in the show notes.
yeah,
Okay.
it's a good one. It's a really good one. And of course, you can work with your own with a branding or if you're an entrepreneur, then there's branding and marketing companies that are constantly doing their own value kind of workshops. I know that's what we do with our clients. So that's on a bigger scale, but I think just knowing your own personal values, there's a lot of free resources online.
Got it. I know for me, I've realized freedom, cr
Ditto.
creativity,
Hmm.
owning my life,
Hmm.
being authentic.
Yes, girl.
Friendships, because
Yeah.
that was not feeling like a core value for so like
Hmm.
I maybe I said it, but it wasn't like actually
Hmm.
like the treasures of the heart, like real true friendship.
Hmm.
It's so easy to just like put that on the back burner and just like work, but I have to work. So
Yeah.
that's why I like this because it's like, no, my work is creating friendships. My work,
It's
yeah,
I can relate. It's one of my values is deep connection. So what I learn about myself, for example, and I think that's what you're getting at, what
yeah.
you get out of these conversations is I really lose a lot of energy when I am having high level conversations, meaning people always say, "Oh, you're such an extrovert." And I am actually super introverted because I lose energy when I'm having high level conversations. I need to like dive into the soul and tell me everything about you. And, let's get into it. That's when I expand in energy.
Do you know what your environment is in human design by any chance?
Oh, what are they? What are the words again?
So mine's caves.
Oh, I have no
And then
idea.
there's like mountains, there's valleys, there's kitchens, there's markets. We can look yours up later.
Oh, I'd
Um,
love to.
yeah.
I love
Okay.
this.
I want to ask you what moments in your life have most shaped your approach to generosity, creativity, and creating change?
Oh, what a beautiful question. Thank you. Um, you sort of touched upon it in the intro, but for me, my grandmother and my nonna, she got me started really young, and we were just volunteering at a retirement home, and she cooked all this food, and I served it, and I brought it, we brought it on the bus, and we brought it there, and we set it up, and I think I must have been 6 or 7, and
Was this in
so
Canada or in
this
Israel?
was in Israel, yeah, it was,
Okay.
yeah,
Wow.
and so like that you know what it created? If I really think of how I felt so connected to people
Yeah.
in that experience. It
Yeah.
didn't matter that they were so much older than me. It didn't matter. Like everyone was in it together. And so
Mm,
if you've heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like
yes.
that community, that connection, it's like it's a basic need. And we're so disconnected in our
Yeah.
society. We don't even know our neighbors some of the time if we're in the big cities, right? And
Yeah.
so, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No,
Jump in.
I was just sorry to interrupt you. I'm just
No.
thinking tribal. Like
Hmm.
I was just with a bunch of women hosting a retreat in Mountain Village, Oregon, and we're moving around the kitchen around each other. And there's no like needing to ask, like, hey, could you sway to the side? One woman just like sway. She feels me coming, she sways. There's four of us in the kitchen. We just move.
The
And
dancing.
I said, "Oh my gosh, women need to be together. Like this, like cooking in the kitchen together and like let's go fuck the men like later and then we'll come back to the kitchen like we need to be together
It's
in
true.
tribe."
And like raising babies too, like my best friend is here with her baby, and you have to see this. I live in a little community here in Costa Rica, and like the baby just goes to the neighbor and then to this friend, and she's just so taken care of. We're a lot of women here, just all the women are
Oh,
constantly jumping in. It's really beautiful. And there's obviously space and need and desire for the masculine, as well. So I always like to say that because there's so much room for everything to flow beautifully and harmoniously together.
Yes, we need that structure. We need that masculine. I love our men. I love
I
them.
love her, man.
Okay, so next question here, and this is the last one I have prepared, is in your experience, how does expanding our capacity to feel good influence the way we give, serve, and make a difference? You touched upon this already.
Ooh, what a question. Capacity to feel good. I would say we have as much fear of our highs and our good emotions as we do of our low emotions.
Yep.
Um, and I personally experienced it. I shared it earlier, when I was at the top of my game that I had been building for so many years. It's when I got there that I emotionally started to crash because I was like, what if it's not about the money, if it's not about the fame, if it's not about the job or the guy or the car or the house, then what is it about? And it was like this huge, truly a dark night of the soul for me. And it lasted quite a while. And so I think happiness is an inside game. And I think that's where no matter where you go, there you are. And
Hmm.
so our capacity to give is based on our capacity to feel good. And that takes really stretching our edges, our capacity to feel, not just feel anything, but feel our
Mm.
capacity to feel our good will be determined by our capacity to feel our bad. Yeah. So it's like, how do we
Yes.
start to expand our ability to hold sensation? That's really what it comes down to
Ooh, that's
without
good.
reacting. Right. So yeah, I'll leave it at
Ability to
that.
hold sensation. Oh my gosh, tell me more about, can you speak more about the ability to hold sensation, please? Anything else
Yes.
you, I mean, that's just like a whole book right there.
It's not mine, which most of the things I say are not actually mine.
Okay,
So
that's okay.
I'm a quoter. I think most of us are. It's really the Rolodex what we
It's
learned
the
in our brain,
collective.
the
Yeah.
collective. Um, I would say the best program that really deals with our ability to hold sensation is a program or a course called Vipassana. It's a 10-day silent meditation course where you don't speak, you don't write, you don't do anything for 10 days. And what happens when you have no outlets for the energy of your body, you really start to feel the energy in your body. You feel it in breath work, you feel it in somatic work to really start to feel what's happening in your system, what sensations are happening, and to not be scared of them. We've learned since we were young that if something's wrong, we have to do something about it. Like there's this
Oh,
weird like belief that we should always be happy. Like,
yep.
what is that? It's impossible, actually. The goal is to move like a pendulum throughout all of the emotions and to remember that this too shall pass, like clouds in the sky. It's gonna pass.
That's so good. I
That
have
that's the journey. That's the journey is learning to just be with everything. Yeah.
I know a woman that goes to a lot of retreats, and she was just a couple of women talking about the 10-day silent thing, and I was like, oh, I have a reaction to that. So you did it? You did the 10 days?
I did. It was really difficult. I found it really challenging. It was a difficult time of my life. So I had just like witnessed death for the first time, and so maybe it wasn't the best time looking back. But it was
Yeah.
also the perfect time. Yeah. So
Yeah.
like, how do you not numb any of it? Um, it was challenging but worthwhile. I loved it in hindsight.
Wow. Okay, Dana, how much time do you have left?
I'm good.
You're good. I want to ask you about any experiences that you've had with plant medicine, mushrooms, ayahuasca, anything like that that you're willing to share.
Yeah, I'm pretty much an open book. I can say I've had all of the above. And in Costa Rica, it's again quite a hub for medicine journeys, I would say. I would recommend everyone, doing their research and making sure it's with the right group and the right facilitation and so on and so forth. But to me, it was part of the journey of, oh, and I will also say it's not for everybody, but for me, it was part of the journey of, diving into the depths of my mind
So
and seeing what I could.
yesterday,
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt you. Yesterday, I saw Oprah did a podcast interview about, she said for 10 years she's been researching, and this is the first time I've seen her talk about psychedelics.
Right.
And I was like, oh, we have reached this full tipping point if Oprah is now promoting psychedelics.
Mm-hmm. It's
That
true.
it's very exciting.
It's true. And you know, you feel it. And like everything, you gotta be mindful. I heard someone say about Costa Rica that we call our parties ceremonies here, and we all had a good laugh about it. But you also have to be mindful of that we're not replacing one habit for another, because you want that integration time. Whatever you learn in those other dimensions and those other experiences, you want to be able to bring it back to the here and now and integrate it into your life.
Right. It is not the pill. It is not one more pill. It is not the Band-Aid. It is the teacher to then bring you back to the lesson. What
Exactly.
and
It
the
maybe opens the
practices.
door. If you're willing to have the courage, it'll open some doors to look to see what's actually going on, what you're still holding on to. You know, we come
Yeah.
into this world like a being of light. The energy is just moving, flowing through us, and then things happen that creates blocks in that energy. And so psychedelics or medicine like that just creates another opportunity to look at what those blocks may be so that we can release them.
Yeah, I think you're so right. It really is an individual, delicate, intentional
Mm.
matter that is not for everyone, and people have to really be discerning about when, set and setting, and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
For me, my experience was that of the deepest surrender I've ever had. So to me, it's like now I have a reference point for that type of that kind of deepest surrender. Also a reference point for 10 dimensions being real.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yes,
was just before it was just a
an
thought,
idea.
an idea,
Right.
but that was like, oh, got it.
Right. No, I hear you 100%. I can relate to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this feels like just the touch point of so many more deep conversations that I would love to have with you. If you guys want to get into Dana's world more, what are the things that are going to be portals for them in your world? What, like, where do we want to lead them? What might be interesting for them?
So, for the for the greater community, I have two offerings essentially. So I still have my private practice as a clinical hypnotherapist and consultant. So if someone's interested in that, they can absolutely reach out. And then I do host limited amount of retreats that I am passionate about throughout the year. So I have a writing retreat coming up.
I
And I
saw
have
that.
what I call impact retreats. So that's something that will always continue. Our next one will be in Nicaragua, and we're going back there for the fourth time. But essentially, what we do is we don't only retreat, we don't only travel, but we support the community in meaningful ways,
Wow.
depending on what the community needs from us at that time. So it's usually wellness and impact and quite transformational.
I've seen some images of your Costa Rican retreats. They look incredible. The writing retreat, is that just to get clear on your life, or is that like, hey, I want to write a book, so therefore I'm going on this writing retreat? Like, what is it specifically for writing?
It's more so the latter. If you want to write a memoir or a story and you have a story that needs and wants to be told, I partnered with a publisher and we're going to show you how to actually start to work your plan out. We're going to have some, ways for you to actually get started on creating that plan. And also, we're going to share in what happens next. What do you do once you have a book? How do you publish it? How do you promote it? What's the goal? What are your values, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what we'll be covering in the week. And I do these things because I love them for myself. So when
Okay,
it
so
comes to other
do you
retreats,
have a book, Dana, that I'm
I'm in the
not?
process of writing it. So
Okay,
that's why I created a retreat, because I know for me, I won't write unless I have time set aside to write, like everything. So that's what this retreat's about. Come and join me and we
I
can all have
love
some fun
it.
together.
That's incredible because we are now in the era of not gurudom, but like, come with me.
Yeah.
I want to
Yeah.
do this. Do you want to do this? Let's go. Let's learn this.
Yes. Together. We're
Yeah,
all craving that deep connection, if you will.
that sounds incredible. And then the Nicaragua one.
Dates to
Um,
be determined. So I still
okay.
haven't launched we just were there in December. So I haven't launched the next dates yet, but you can go on to natureoflivingretreats.com and get in touch there and I'll keep you guys in the loop if you're interested.
All right.
And
Well,
of course,
that's
I'm not too
gorgeous.
active on Instagram these days, but if I do check my DMs, so if anybody has any questions, just reach out. I'm very open to that.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Dana, thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
saying yes to
Thank
connecting
you
in
so
this
much.
way. This was so nourishing for me. I really enjoyed this, and you're so incredible. I mean, the fact that you grew up learning how to be of service and that you've had such a, you know, so many different cultures in your life, you really are this bridge, not just geographically for people to experience different cultures, but you're also a bridge from 3D to 10D or 5D, whatever you want to call it. Like you from the conscious to the subconscious, you seem to be a bridge in many different levels. And I think that's such a gift that I appreciate and thank you for, being the manifesting generator that you are in going all these different paths and showing people the way and being willing to mutate into the next evolution of your soul's calling. That takes courage and it's beautiful to watch. So thank you for
Thank you.
your heart of service and also your commitment to your own transformation that you bring us along on, because that's a big deal.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. Truly. I receive that wholeheartedly. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Well, I keep want to keep talking, but we're going to let you guys go. Stay tuned for more. Loving you. Please keep expanding your capacity to feel good one breath at a time, and we'll see you soon.
Hey, love, if you've been feeling the call to go deeper, to step into a space where you can truly exhale, release, and reconnect with your soul and just feel held and seen and loved and known and recalibrated, then I would love to invite you to be part of my next Goddess of Light retreat. These retreats are more than just an experience. They are a remembering, a space where you are fully held, where breath becomes a portal to healing and where transformation unfolds in the most beautiful, unexpected ways. If your heart is whispering yes, your soul is calling you, send me a message to get on the waiting list, and I would love to have you there. And if you're hosting a retreat, an event, a gathering, and you feel that my work belongs in your space, let's make it happen. I would be honored to bring Mountain Breathwork infused with Reiki to your circle to create something sacred together. Message me and let's dream it into reality. Your next expansion is waiting. If this episode resonated with you, I have one simple request for you to give yourself a moment to leave a 5-star review and share a few words about what the authentic creative meant to you. Your review isn't just for me, it's for the people out there searching for inspiration, healing, and reminder that they're not alone. Each review helps this podcast reach more souls who need this conversation, these breakthroughs, and this magic. So if this show has uplifted you in any way, expanded you in any way, or sparked something inside of you, pay it forward by rating, reviewing, and sharing it. Thank you for being here, for listening, and for being a part of this incredible community. Keep shining.